Beauty.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, the sound was too low in my last episode, and
Yeah.
it's fine. It can be fixed, but it's one of those things where I take stuff like that very personally. Like, it feels like a personal failing on my part, and I like when I read those comments, it like hurts me inside. But then I'm like, well, how am I gonna realize that I messed something up if I don't mess it up and people?
See, I thought you did it on purpose to get comments, and I was like, that was genius. People are gonna comment that the sound's too low. It's gonna hit the algorithm. Doesn't know what they're saying. Just start showing it to more people.
That's actually not a bad idea. All right, so this is gonna be completely tilted out of frame. This focus is gonna be off.
Yeah. Crank down the volume.
Just make bad content on purpose to get the AV nerds angry.
Put captions in wingdings.
Yeah.
And just get people all fired up.
Do you guys know how to fix this?
Yeah,
we have a comedian, Adam Muller, here. It is Muller, right?
It's Muller.
Fuck.
That's
okay.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
I don't.
I thought that. I would assume if there was an E after the U, then it would be Mueller.
Right. If either an E or sometimes there's like the 2 dots over the U.
Yeah.
But
oh yeah, with the umlaut.
Yeah. The umlaut. Yes.
Do you you don't correct people very often, do you? Yeah.
No.
I mean, people have been calling me Bladel for years.
Oh. Yeah, you know. Yeah, I probably get brought to stage as Muller half the time.
Okay.
And who cares?
Yeah, exactly. But do you say the actual pronunciation to the host, or do they ask?
They often ask, and I tell them, and then half the time they'll still screw it up.
Yeah.
And we've all hosted. Remembering name, if you don't know the person, remembering the name kind of sucks. And then there's some people that have brought me up like 50 times, and it's been wrong every time. And now I'm too now I'm like, I don't want to. If I correct them now, they're gonna feel so bad.
I know
that I'm like, I guess I'm gonna be Muller to that person forever, and that's fine.
There's an episode of Friends that's like that, where there's someone in Chandler's office that calls him like Tom, and he's been calling him Tom for years.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, it's like, at what point do I interject? Sometimes when I'm hosting and like if it's someone I'm bringing up for the first time, or they have like a complicated name that I can't, I'll like brick it a little bit, and then I'll do that Costanza thing where he tries to talk about his favorite authors, where it's like, give it up for Brad Fribbin, like that.
Oh yeah, you just get loud.
Yeah,
give it up for people. And then they come up and they're just like, what the fuck was that?
It's like, it's that guy. How is the summer going for you? I know like summer for comedy can be very slow, and comedians handle it differently.
It's felt good. I mean, to me, the biggest negative of the summer is just running around in the heat and humidity and getting to every club already having sweat through your pants. But it's been good. It's been productive. I mean, it feels like some shows maybe crowds are like a little bit. At certain clubs, crowds are a little lighter during the summer than they are in other parts of the year. But at other places, however, they seem to just be still filling up the rooms. And
yeah, I think like other places, you mean comedy clubs or like independent shows? Because I
think independent shows and bar shows suffer far more than the clubs.
Oh, really?
That's just my observation.
Yeah, because I feel like I guess those shows are like people who are local that just need to like get the hell out of town, whereas like the clubs are like the tourists. But I don't know, like are there a lot of tourists you think that come into the city in the summer? It's not like the holidays for sure.
Oh, I think the folks from Middle America and stuff. I think New York's a big tourist destination during the summer.
Really?
Yeah. And it's just a matter of if you can capture as a comedy club, can you capture those people?
Yeah, but just like pitch the AC, like when you're in Times Square and it's like 42, or when you're in Times Square and it's like 95 degrees outside. It's like, you don't even have to lie and be like, we've got Tina Fey on the show tonight. Yeah. It's like, we got AC.
Look, if you're coming to New York from Ohio and half your meals are going to be at the Red Lobster, you'll go to a comedy show.
You got nothing else to do.
Yeah, it's part of the. I think going to see live stand-up comedy in New York is for a lot of people is part of the list.
Yeah,
of things to do. So
it's like Statue of Liberty Comedy Club.
Yeah, a Broadway show.
Red Lobster.
So
we've had an international comedian on here before. We had Katie Boyle.
Oh, sure.
You are the first Canadian that we've had on the show.
All right, yeah. What an honor with OUR.
There we go. It's like the Royal British spelling.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
The same thing I asked Katie, I want to ask you, like, what came first in your like journey? Like, do I want to do comedy in America, or I just want to go to America?
Oh, first was, I guess, coming to America.
Mm-hmm.
Because I started comedy in New York.
Okay.
So I'm international in terms of my passport and where I was born, but as a comedian, I'm sort of New York born and bred.
All right.
So I'd been already here for a long time.
And you came to the States?
I came for college. For college, yeah.
Nice.
And then I just kind of like never went back.
Like, how did you? I guess just take us through that like
Yeah.
quickly. So you come to MIT, was it?
Well, I got a master's at MIT. So I went to,
Okay.
I came for undergrad and went to a school called Colby College
Oh, I know Colby.
in Waterville, Maine.
Mm-hmm.
Got a job from there in Boston. And then went back to graduate school like several times.
Several times.
Several times. I got 2 master's degrees. It's,
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. You got to get those qualifications to be a comedian. And then got a job after MIT. Got a job in New York, which brought me to New York, and then ultimately started comedy sometime after that.
What I mean, was comedy like always in the back of your head, or was it just like your whole life path was like, I'm gonna go to America, I'm gonna get a great education, multiple graduate degrees, and then I'm gonna get this like sick job on Wall Street?
Yeah, like I never thought about doing comedy.
Mhm.
So like these people that are like, ever since I was 10, I was listening to albums late at night. My parents thought I was sleeping. It's no. I wasn't like that at all. And part of it's not that I didn't like it. Like when you'd hear something here and there, it's like, oh, that's funny. I enjoy that. But it never even crossed my mind as something you could actually do. And I just kind of was always taking it one step at a time. Oh, I'll go do that. Oh, why don't I go get a degree at MIT? Then I got to MIT.
Casually, it's like, yeah,
Yeah, and then and then I was lucky enough to get in, and then it's like, well, now that I'm here, I'm like, what do people do after this? Like, oh, I'll talk to some people that went to Wall Street. That sounds interesting, and like a challenge. Like, I think for me, it was more like I listened to people that were like had graduated a few years before me and were working at banks on Wall Street, and it sounded like so hard and painful. I was like, I want to see if I can handle that. It's like someone like doing a marathon just to see if they can or something, Like I want to put myself through that pain.
Have you always wanted to challenge yourself like that?
I guess to see. Yeah, I mean, like the marathon's an interesting example because I did I've run like 4 marathons.
Oh,
And I think at first it was just to see if I could, and then once I'd done one and I had like a time, I was like to see if I could beat a certain time.
Mm.
And then after a couple more, I was like, I'm gonna destroy my body if I keep doing this.
It seems like that's kind of wired into you then, because like every step I'm hearing in this process is a very difficult step, where it's like I'm gonna leave my home country to go to college, and like Colby, I mean, like I think of those like the NESCAC, like it's like the Division III Ivy League.
Exactly. Yeah, that's probably fair.
Yeah, and like so that's a difficult school to begin with. And then you had a job for a little bit in Boston, and then it's like, well, then I'll just go to grad school. Now, what did you what was your master's in at MIT?
It was an MBA essentially.
Okay.
So like it was like finance, business stuff.
And then it's like, all right, I got this MBA.
Yep.
Now I'm gonna go. I hear Wall Street sucks. I'm gonna go see if I can do that. So it's just like you're just like kind of upping the challenge level. Then after, and I guess we'll get to this, down the line a little bit. But then at some point, it's like, well, now I'm gonna try and build a career in stand up. Like Wall Street was like too easy almost.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, too easy. I wouldn't go too easy. But it's like I'm very good at focusing on like one big thing, and then putting all my energy into that. And until I pivot to some other big thing, that's getting all my attention. And I don't like doing things. Like I don't like doing things if there's not a path to sort of extreme success, which doesn't mean that you're going to succeed, right? It's not like hubris of like, I'm going to become the biggest comic in the world. No, of course not. Like the chances of that are like, I could win the Powerball with as much probability as doing that. But at the same time, it's like, it's not impossible, or it's not impossible to think of like a goal that would be an extreme form of success. And as soon as I don't think that's possible, I don't really want to do that thing anymore.
So for you, it's about just like high difficulty, high payoff.
Yeah, like I like to have a achievable yet extreme goal that I'm kind of working towards, and that I put all my energy towards. Like when I started investment banking, right? I'm gonna make up rough numbers because I don't imagine exactly, but like every year there's like an incoming class of new associates, and it's comprised of people from business schools and people that were analysts out of undergrad that got promoted to associate. And they say there was like 100 of us. And they basically tell you, and it turns out to be true, within 2 to 3 years, 80% of those people will be gone. And so like committing to myself that I was going to be one of the 20% that was still around.
After 3 years.
After 3 years.
Did you have a goal of making it like I want to be there 10 years, or I just want to get past 3?
I was more like I want to get past that sort of initial phase where most people were leaving within 6 months.
Mhm.
They're just like, I can't. I'm at work at 3 a.m. and I got to be like, this is not how life is.
I know it's not the same thing, but it sounds like the Navy SEALs, where it's like all of these like tough guys, and then like within a couple weeks during training, they're ringing the bell.
Ringing the bell.
Leave.
Yeah, there was that. I mean, I think Navy SEAL training, obviously very like physically demanding, whereas we're sitting at computers on Microsoft Excel. But like the mental challenge and the stamina and just training yourself to still think when you haven't slept in 3 days is an interesting process, and perhaps like that is in some ways a fair analogy. But yeah, don't ring the bell. Can you make it?
Yeah.
And I was a summer associate at the bank, like between years of business school, and so at that point I was just trying to get the offer to come back, because I think I was in a group. There was maybe 10 or 11 of us summer associates, and I think 2 of us came back.
Wow.
It was this, yeah. So it was like
from year 1 to year 2, or just like
no, like because what happens is you go for like a 10-week summer internship, and then they hire some full-time people from that group.
So it's like an extended audition, basically.
It's like a 10-week interview. That's the worst part. Like that 10 weeks is insane because you don't know what you're doing, and you can't leave because you want the reputation as the person that'll do anything, that works the hardest, that gets things done, and that is good, and that is likable, and that, you need to check all these boxes so that at the end of the summer, they're like, you can come back next fall and start full time.
And you don't do they give you any updates, like progress reports as it's going along? Or you just have to like guess in your own head?
There was like a midsummer review, but I'm not sure that anyone got like a terrible one.
Right.
I just think it was just one of those. I was thrilled to get the offer to come back. I don't know that I thought I was going to necessarily get it.
Okay.
Because I don't think I was the best at the job at that point. But I think I was like, there's also that element of like, who do you like being around at 3 a.m. when you need to be productive because you got something that's got to be done by 7 a.m.
Who's a good hang?
And ultimately,
it's amazing how much that plays into like literally everything, like art, business, just anything. Like it's all just about the people. Even like I've heard football coaches talk about, I won't hire anybody I don't like.
Yeah,
because again, you are surrounding yourself with these people. So that has the question is like, how much of a percentage do you lean on with that, like
right.
versus competency? And it's like, how much of a dick can you be and still get away with it? Because like, how good do you have to be to get away with being a dick?
Right.
Yeah.
And like in that case, sort of, there's like probably a grace under pressure kind of thing that they're paying attention to. Because when they want something, but when you need something by 7 or 9 a.m. and it's 3 a.m. and it's not done yet, like people start to fall apart.
Yeah. Wait, so this is what I've always wondered too, because, and you explained this a little bit to me one night at New York Comedy Club, but like I always hear, because I have friends that went into investment banking, and you hear all these like stories about how difficult it is and how much time and how much work, what the workload is. Like, what work are you actually doing? Like what is filling those hours?
Yeah, so I would put it like there's kind of 2 different buckets where there's like when you're actually working on a real transaction. So company A is acquiring company B, and there's all kinds of stuff that has to happen for that to, as like the financial advisor, there's all this stuff that has to happen for that to happen. And then there's all the stuff, then there's the other bucket, which is all the stuff you're doing until you actually get hired to execute a transaction. So you can almost think of that as like you're going to companies and telling them other companies they should or could buy. You're going to companies and telling them who might want to buy them. Companies are asking how they might raise money in the capital markets because they want to expand to Asia or something, and you're telling them like, well, you could issue stock. Here's what's going to happen. You could do that. You could raise money in the debt markets. You could bank loans, like whatever. It's almost like a sort of extreme form of financial consulting, where you get paid when it turns into an actual transaction.
Oh, so you don't get paid like a consulting fee, but like you
no.
So the incentive is to do this great job so that they end up either investing or getting invested in or getting bought or buying.
I mean, it's not a perfect analogy, but think of it like a real estate agent. Like you say you own an apartment or a house. Every once in a while, you'll just get a call out of nowhere. So, hey, I'm Joe Blow, a real estate agent. Have you ever thought about selling your apartment? I think I could get $2 million for it or whatever.
Yeah.
And they don't get paid for making that call, but they only get paid if you're interested in selling and you sell and you use them. So that's what a lot of investment bankers are running around like those real estate agents going like, hey, Microsoft, here's 5 companies you could buy and here's why you should buy them. And we can help you do it because we have relationships with all, that kind of stuff.
But there's huge like data and math and analysis behind that. Like the prospecting work is insane.
So because some managing director will get it. Let's use Microsoft. They get a meeting at Microsoft and like, oh, never had a meeting with the head of strategy at Microsoft. So then they'll go and they'll get, say, me in my first couple of years and say, we got a meeting next week with Microsoft. I want to pitch them 10 companies that they should buy. And then I got to go and I've got to build financial models for all 10 of those companies. Then I've got to build the financial models that combines it as if Microsoft bought it. That includes how Microsoft would finance it. And put that all in a presentation, which ends up being like 200 pages.
Oh.
And then get that presentation bound. And then I usually then have to carry this box, this 500-pound box of presentations.
Yeah, I'm ringing the bell already.
To the airport.
Finance.
Yeah.
Fuck that, dude. No way.
To the airport for a 7 a.m. flight to Seattle or wherever Microsoft is.
Oh, my God.
And go to the meeting. And then you get to the meeting sometimes, and they never open the presentations. They just chat for an hour, and they never get to it. And then the senior guy on the way back was like, you always know it's a good meeting when you never need the presentation. Meanwhile, you haven't slept in a week because you had to do all that work.
Oh my God! All right, so that's one bucket.
That's a week in the life. Yeah.
What was the other bucket?
Well, then it's when you're actually doing a transaction.
Okay.
And then there's you're building a model to show that like what the financial impact of the transaction is, and you have to make often the financial advisor has to make a presentation to the board of directors who has to approve the transaction. And then there's all the deal terms are always changing because there's a negotiation going on where it's like you're offering a certain amount of money or cash and stock to the and you got to agree on terms, and often the terms aren't agreed on until the last minute, which is 3 a.m.
And that changes the model.
And that changes the model, which means the board presentation has to change. And then you got to get that board, and the board has to see the presentation. You have to have a meeting where they have to vote to approve the deal, and all those numbers have to be right, or there's big problems. Right? And then there's often banks will also do these things called fairness opinions, where the buyer, so the company that's buying the other company, the board wants a fairness opinion, which is just this valuation analysis that says they're paying a fair price, because the board is a fiduciary to their shareholders. And their shareholders are going to get mad if they overpay for something. Mm-hmm. So they need this sort of this legal thing that says that was fair. And then there's a merger document that the lawyers on M&A deals are the only people that have it worse than the bankers. Because that's a massive legalese document that's always changing. But the bankers also have to go through it for all the key deal terms, and there's all kinds of stuff that goes on.
I'm hearing all this, and I'm very glad I majored in liberal arts.
Yeah, everyone who's watching for comedy has turned off the episode by now. But
we're getting there, I promise. No, I was about to switch. So, like, at what?
Yeah.
I mean, so how long are you in finance until you, one, give comedy a try, and then two, how are you balancing starting comedy with this insane demand of time with finance?
So I left Goldman, and I had this brief window. I had this brief window of time, and I took a comedy class because all of a sudden I was like, because when I was actually at the bank, I couldn't plan things in the evenings. No. There were no evenings, but all of a sudden I had this window. So I took one of those like 5 or 6 week classes, right? A class every week, which is sort of like a feedback mic effectively, and then a bringer show at the end. And it was fun.
When you say you left Goldman, you mean you quit or you took a leave?
Oh, I quit.
Okay. And you had like savings and you were just like, I'm going to just kind of do whatever
and
figure out what's next?
I left Goldman to go to a hedge fund.
Okay.
But there was a gap there where I had a little time. So I took this class.
How long was the gap?
5 or 6 weeks or something.
Okay. Oh yeah, it's nothing. Yeah.
It wasn't. And so I took the class and it was fun. Did the bringer show, had a blast. Didn't think about comedy for years after that.
Oh, wow.
Because I didn't have time. Because then I was at this hedge fund, and then ended up at an investment management company in California for 4 years. And then I came back. Then that ended, and I came back to New York. And I was looking for another job in finance. And I was like, well, you can't look for a job for 12 hours a day. Mm-hmm. And I thought, that comedy class I took way back, that was fun. I wonder if that still exists. And I looked it up, and the same class existed with the same teacher. And
what club was it at?
This was Linda Smith taught a class, and it was through Caroline's.
Oh wow.
So the show was at Caroline's, R.I.P. Caroline's. But
man.
so I was like, well, I'll take that. You know, that I ended up taking like actually that class and a screenwriting class while I was looking for a job, right? And I did the same class, right? 5 or 6 weeks. You do a show at the end, and then the show happened, and then I went to a couple open mics. Then I started going to like an open mic every day, and then I realized I'd stopped looking for a job.
Oh wow.
And it wasn't like a conscious thing. I just had stopped putting the time in looking for a job. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to give comedy 3 months. I'm not going to, no stress about the job. 3 months, I'm just going to go as hard as I can. So I did, you know, whatever, 3-4 open mics a day, wrote every day for like 3 months. And then at the end of the 3 months, I said, I'm going to give it another 3 months. And at the end of those 3 months, I said, I'm going to give it 6 more months.
So it's a whole year.
So now it's a year. And at the end of the year, I was like, I'm going to stop counting. And I just kept going.
Wow. So like, I mean, during that break, like, what are you doing for like money and health insurance at the time? Like, is it just
sure.
like saved money from working in banking for so long? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I had savings, and I sort of calculated what my, you know, monthly spend was, and including health insurance, which you had paying for out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of made a little plan of like, okay, here's 3 years of money, and when that's gone, I have to go get a job again.
Wow.
And then that's what I did. And then I haven't gone and gotten the job again.
So how long ago was that initial coming back to New York and like starting to look for a job? And I'll give it 3 months.
That was like 2016, 2017.
Okay. So I mean, this has been like a pretty quick turnaround. This has been like 6-7 years of just comedy.
Yeah, July 2017, thereabouts, I feel like was the show from that class I took after I came back. So I kind of think of that as when I started, because it was after that show that all of a sudden I was doing it every day.
Wow.
And that's that's probably 6 years right around now. Wait, yeah.
20. Yeah. Time is very
fluid.
That
is
is 6 years.
Yeah.
So you have like that 3-year runway.
Yeah.
Once you got to the end of the 3 years, what was it that allowed you to keep going? Were you like picking up jobs on the side? Was comedy like paying the minimum spend that you needed for each month? Like what?
No, I just started going deeper into my savings.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you said 3 years, but you really stretched it beyond.
I stretched it.
Yeah.
I stretched it, and I still am.
Oh.
But you know, I've picked up a few odd like little consulting things here and there now that help a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not willing at the moment to work on non-comedy stuff for more than like an hour or two a day.
Wow.
That's.
I mean, like it sounds like you've established a pretty solid way of living. Like you're very. I mean, obviously the finance background helps, but you're very, very clear on like, here's what I can spend every month. Here's what I have coming in. Here's what I need to pick up. Like I feel like this is like maybe the most practical your education has been able to like fit into your life, because obviously you can make a bunch of money like working at an investment bank, but like now this is really going towards like underwriting something you really care about.
Yeah. I mean, I think of it as investing in myself, and I also think like those first few years, you were spending a lot of money to do comedy. You know, some open mics might cost $5. Some you have to buy a drink. Some are $5 and a drink. And if you're doing 3-4 open mics a night, that really adds up. So once you get to the point where you're actually not paying to get on stage anymore, you're not making money,
right?
But you're not losing what you were losing. So you're actually going in the right direction.
I know it doesn't feel like a step up, but technically it is a step up. And there are, I mean, even back then, like 2016, 2017, I still think there were a lot of free mics around the city, because like the Creek and the Cave was still active, and like you would find random places, parts in Brooklyn or Bushwick. And I've talked about this before in the podcast, but now it feels like the free mics are mostly gone. Like the free bucket mics, like I feel like that kind of died out with COVID, and now it's almost every mic is this kind of pay $5. Buy a drink, maybe do both. Also sign up in advance, like via Instagram. Like the mechanics of doing open mic comedy in the city aren't as they were 5 years ago.
Yeah, the show up, go up thing feels like it's mostly gone.
Yeah.
Which is interesting, because I guess it's up to, I mean, that's one of those things where it's just up to the comics that are at that stage to just bring it back if they want to.
Right.
But
I feel like Gen Z, because Gen Z kind of runs the comedy scene now as far as like the open mics and the independent shows. And I feel like either they don't know about it or they're not. It's just not how they think, or it's not part of the way they look at stuff. I don't know.
That's interesting.
That's just kind of what I've, and this opinion could be completely wrong, but yeah, that's just kind of what I've seen as I've been going around. So like during the last 6 years, like what are some big like markers that kind of made you keep going? Because you said 3 months,
Oh,
3
yeah,
months, 6 months, and then it's like I'm done counting.
It was really just I felt myself getting better, and I think like there's an element when you start where you have to be a little delusional because no one you're just not like when you compare yourself to professional comedians and the people that everyone knows, like you're nowhere near. It's like
No, it's
it's
embarrassing.
an embarrassing comparison, but you have to see something in yourself where you think, I think I can get better at this, or I think there's a spark here. There's something interesting, and I'm enjoying it. And you keep going. And every 3 months, I would look back at and I'd watch a tape or listen to a set from 3 months before, and be so embarrassed by that told me that I'd gotten better.
That's good.
And 3 months later, listen back to 3 months before. Oh God. So it's like, okay, if I'm able, like if the learning curve is this steep, let's keep riding it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that dynamic almost like continues to this day, where if I watch something from 3 months ago, there's some stuff where I'm going to be like, ugh.
I mean, that's good. That is like positive growth. And I think it's like the same way with even non-comedy stuff. Like sometimes like the memories part of Facebook almost feels like a psychological attack every now and then. Cause it's like, oh, here's something I posted 10 years ago. It's like, oh my God, what the hell? Why did I think that was funny, interesting, cute, whatever?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's like reminding you the awful person you used to be.
I think that's Facebook just reminding us that, hey man, everything you've posted, we have it.
Yeah. Don't go away. Something bad might happen.
Yeah.
It's nice drunken pictures you had there from college. Be ashamed if something happened to them.
Yeah, good luck running for president.
Yeah, and but even like the same thing, it is painful with that stuff and deeply cringe-inducing, but
I think it's important.
It is, and you try to remind yourself that like, oh, this means I've grown as a person. I've gotten better either comedically or just as a human being.
I told someone just the other day who's like relatively new, and I said, look, the second most important thing to do as a newer comic is to record all your sets. And the most important thing to do is to listen to the recordings.
Mm-hmm.
Because everyone records it now, but like you got to listen, and it's painful.
It is
sometimes.
painful, but it's also nice in that like, because sometimes I'll have, and I'm sure you've experienced this too, where I'll have a set and it's like, oh my God, that was awful. And then I'll go back and watch the tape. It's like, actually, it's never as bad as you thought it was. And it's never as good as you thought it was.
Yeah. It's interesting how it always compresses. Like you thought you killed, and then you watch it, you're like, well, that was okay.
Yeah.
And you thought you bombed, and you watch it, you're like, oh, wow, it wasn't as bad as I thought. Mm-hmm. It's always somewhere in the middle.
The pit in my stomach wasn't necessary. Well, so speaking of taping yourself, you're someone who you're like very tech savvy, and like, and I've gone to you a couple times for like audiovisual questions, whether for the podcast or recording. Is that something that always kind of came naturally to you, or is it one of those things where when you started comedy, you're like, I need this skill set?
I mean, it's one of those things where like I've always enjoyed that kind of stuff. You know, as a kid, we had like a dark room in our house because my dad was into photography.
Oh wow!
So I remember actually shooting and then developing like my own film.
Oh, like not just pictures,
not like film, like pre-digital film in a room with complete darkness, so you don't ruin the stuff. And I always had fun, and then making prints and stuff, and I always enjoyed that. And you know, during during 2020, when everything was closed, like I just picked a few things to focus on. So one of my projects was just to figure out video editing. And it's amazing if you just sit down for a couple hours a day for like 3 months and watch YouTube videos about any topic, you'll learn a lot. Yeah. And then you start doing it, and you learn by doing, you know, and I made some weird little black and white film noir things as a way to just learn video editing. And I did the same thing with cameras because I wanted to film a special, but I didn't want to pay someone to do it. So I was like, instead of paying someone, what if I buy like nice equipment for the less than it would cost to have someone come in and film it? And then I'll have the equipment for after, you know, to continue using, but I got to know how to use it. So for like 3 months, I was watching 3 hours a day of video, photography, camera, lenses, all kinds of stuff on YouTube, and learned a fair amount.
That's such like a heavy, I mean, I guess it's like, it's in your kind of history in terms of like schooling and being able to process a lot of information. But like, yeah, it's such a heavy influx of information. It's almost like overwhelming up front. Like, do you, like, how do you just take in all that stuff and be able to put it to practice?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know. It's just, I find it's interesting and it's fun. Like the first thing I did when I walked in this room was I wanted to know what camera you're using.
Yeah.
Sony 6400, good camera. I don't know. I like that kind of stuff. I think it's interesting. Video editing is fun, I'm glad I like it because it's a tedious part of being a comedian to because not only do you have to watch your stuff now, you got to figure out that I could clip that and then get it captioned and blah blah. Post it on 500 different social media things and all that stuff.
All right, I want to ask you this before it slips my mind here because I've been talking about this with a few different people recently. Because you're someone who posts a lot of clips and films a lot. I kind of feel like sometimes, and this just might be my own personal thing,
Okay.
that whenever I'm performing and I'm filming it, there is a part of me that is watching someone else watch it through Instagram or TikTok. And you kind of I kind of lose a little bit of the presence in the room itself. How do you fight against that? Are you able to prevent it? Like do you ever feel that way? What's that like for you?
I don't feel that way. And I think part of it is if you just decide to film everything, you eventually forget the camera's there.
Okay.
It's when you're filming everyone. It's like when you're like, there's these festival submissions coming up. I need a new 5-minute tape. And so you're filming certain sets. Then there's this pressure to have like the set of your life because the camera's on.
Right.
And that almost always makes it extremely difficult to actually achieve that. But if you just film everything, eventually you'll get it.
Yeah, the camera's not even like a second thought. It's just it's
there.
Another apparatus like the mic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just part of it. Like I feel like it's just part of being a comic. And it's wonderful at these clubs that have camera systems in place where you don't even have to think about it. You just get it after the fact. But if you can't, or you got to set up your own camera, you just set it up, you turn it on, and just go do your thing.
Like, don't even think twice about it.
Because I also think like a set's either going to, if a set goes great and I get the tape I wanted, fantastic. That was the goal. If a set goes terribly, there's something on there that's going to be weird and funny that could be a fun clip, or I'm going to learn something.
So like even I guess that would be one of the benefits of this kind of new like online clip culture of like even the stuff that doesn't go well can be useful or it doesn't have to be for nothing.
I think so. Because like when you're trying to make a submission tape, what ruins it? Someone heckles you. Someone drops a drink.
Someone stumbles in drunk.
Someone stumbles in drunk. You mess up a line. All of those things can be funny clips. So you like, and it's just watch. You learn. You're going to learn something from every set. And I try, this is in sort of a new thing I'm doing right now, but I try to I have a little like repository of the best version of every current joke.
Oh, nice.
And I have this folder now. So every tape, I watch it and then I cut it into the individual jokes. And then if any of those versions are better than like the current version, I swap it out so that I can kind of always watch sort of like this Frankenstein together set, which is something I started doing recently, but it's actually been pretty helpful because they'll be like, you're doing 10 minutes on this show, and I'll just write out a set list and then I'll create the video of it and then watch it.
Oh, as a way to like kind of here's what I want it to sound like.
Here's exactly what the set is.
Wow.
And I'm watching the best version I have of every joke. And best version, not just how the audience reacts, but like that I got it word perfect. And
and it felt like yourself.
And it felt like it myself. And there's no weird riff that went nowhere. It's just this is the best current version I have of this joke. And I've actually kind of Frankensteined together like my next hour. So,
whoa.
And now I can and I'll take the audio of it because then with the audio, you don't see the different clubs and different sets. You just listen to it, and you sort of, as you listen to it, you're thinking of tags and ways things connect and the order. And that's actually been a really helpful sort of new element of process that I've started doing the last like month, maybe.
That is so interesting because as a comic, I typically just think of tapes as like output of like, this is going to I'm going to show it to somebody, or it's going to get me something, or like, it'll do well online, whatever. But really you're using these tapes as like creative input almost. Like you're watching them for your own growth purposes.
Yeah, because if I can have like kind of the best version of my new hour to listen to, then it's just gonna help me make it better.
Wow. What when did you record your special that's up now?
June. What year is it now?
2023.
So June 2022, and then it came out in September.
So it's coming up on a year that it's been out.
But yeah, in another month it'll have been a year. Yeah.
And how do you have like a plan for when you're going to record this next hour, or is it still work on it and then find the date later?
Yeah, December 7th.
Oh, December 7th.
Yeah.
Where are you going to record?
Same place.
West Side?
West Side.
Okay.
Because it's sort of like a sequel.
Okay.
Like, so I kind of want it to be at the same place. I'll probably wear the same thing. I don't want to give away the magic. Oh God, probably just jinxed it. But it connects. It's almost like it's meant to be one thing.
So connects into yeah. Again, feel free to share as much or as little as you want. Connects in terms of like a narrative. Connects thematically, or like there are some loose threads in the first one that are be resolved in the second one.
Well, there is a callback in the second one to the first one.
Okay.
Which is a weird thing to do, I suppose. And the second hour starts with the same joke that the first hour ended with one word different, and then kind of goes from there.
That's really interesting.
But it's not like there's a narrative. Like I'm more sort of modular jokes at this stage. So it's just a lot of jokes. I mean, there are a lot of a lot of it's very personal and stuff, but it's not some journey of self-discovery or something. There's not some broader arc to it. It's just hopefully funny.
But there is like a thematic kind of, or like
and all the jokes in the second hour are the same types of. They're different jokes, but they're the same types of jokes.
Okay.
And I want it to, and then I'll have sort of 2 hours of this type of joke, which I really enjoy, and then the third hour will be different.
What does this type of joke mean? You mean just like set up punch, or like just kind of very segmented? Like what is
like like set up punch, tag,
mm-hmm.
I guess, if you had to distill it down to that, but like structured jokes with as few words as possible, really, really kind of tight jokes with like high laughs per minute and sort of fun.
And the third hour is like it's just like conceptual at this point, or you've already kind of started writing it out?
It's already in. I mean, it's very, very rough, and most of it has never been said on stage, so it could all be garbage. Mm-hmm. But I'm writing the third hour in a very different way than I've ever written jokes that are in these first 2 hours.
Okay.
And it's been I can say what it is. It's a weird thing. So, I had this. I like reading stuff. So there's you can get transcripts of specials. So I was reading transcripts, and what I would do is I would take them off the internet, and I'd cut and paste them into a Word file, change the font so they all had kind of the same font size and stuff, and I'd look at how many pages they were and how many words they were. And I looked at a bunch of different comics that, of course, I like, but also that have certain certain cadence and a certain speed of speaking, I guess. And I kind of realized that, like, okay, an hour of good stand-up comedy is anywhere from between 12 and 16 pages at this font size.
Double spaced or single spaced?
Single spaced.
Okay.
And is like anywhere from 9,000 to 12,000 words or whatever. And I kind of had that in mind. And then I just sat there one day. I woke up I couldn't sleep. I got up at 2 a.m. and I just went to the computer and I wrote 12,000 words. So I wrote an hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's not funny. But then every day I go through it and I delete a third of it, and then I rewrite it until it's an hour again.
Whoa. And
every day I just keep doing that. And slowly it starts to get more interesting, and like jokes start to appear. And I'm continuing to do that. And I'll keep doing that until it's time to like go to stage with the third hour, which won't be until next year.
Would you do it for the first time all at once, or would you do it bit by bit?
I'll have to figure that. Well, I mean, if I don't get enough headlining. I don't have enough of a fan base where we would be allowed to go do it. So I did pull one joke out of it already because I was like, I need this for the second hour because I like it so much.
Awesome.
And I distilled it down to like a short 40-second joke. But for the most part, it's kind of self-contained. And I just it's just sort of like a process, and we'll see what happens. But they tend to, it's sort of the jokes are kind of longer and deeper, and maybe there's a little more like texture and depth to some of the stuff that I'm talking about.
Do you find that it's influencing the way you're delivering stuff now, or you're able to keep it like segmented?
No, I mean, I'm sure it bleeds in a little bit, but even to some of like the topics, and And there's the other thing is like as you get more and more like, and I'm still relatively new in stand up, right? Like 6-7 years in, but like there's things I can do now and will try now that would have like ruined me. Like 4 years ago, I would have said it, everyone would have just booed, and I would have started crying and left. And now I can say it, and if there's a weird reaction, I can, smile and pivot and hopefully get out of it, which gives me the courage to try things that I couldn't have tried. And I think that my hope is that it'll just continue and continue, that sort of dynamic where you sort of, what you're doing a little bit more, so you can be a little more weird and wacky.
So do you think that's kind of the end of this cycle of like doing something difficult, achieving it, and then kind of moving on to something else? Like this seems like you're finding new challenges within one thing.
Well, okay. So that's a good question, because maybe there's different elements within comedy. They're like, various challenges. Like I was just doing that first hour and having it not suck to me was like a win. Do you know what I mean?
It's almost like hammering out like sheet metal or something.
Yeah.
It's like a physical act almost.
And it's cool because like it's out there. It's on YouTube for free. Check it out.
Oh, we'll have the links, and we're gonna plug it at the end.
But like I was like I would have been thrilled if 10,000 people watched it. I had no idea what it was, and it's just on my YouTube channel, so it's not like co-branded with any major label or anyone. And it's it's 130,000 views.
Did you edit it yourself?
No, I brought in an editor after the fact, and who thank God reached out to me and said, "Hey, I hear you're doing this special. Can I direct it?" And I'd already like shot it, and I was like, "Well, I've already shot it," and he's like, "I'll give me all the raw stuff." And shout out to Jason Katz, he's done so many amazing specials now, and I want him to do. He's going to do like everything on the next one. Like I was fiddling with cameras and audio equipment 5 minutes before I went on stage. Like it was a DIY duct tape and spit.
Again, I would be able to handle it if I because I remember when I recorded an album, if I had to like worry about the sound levels right before I went on, I think I would have just crumbled.
Oh, it was stressful, and I only had one show, so I was like,
"Oh yeah, you can't fuck it up.
If anything that gets screwed up just gets cut." Because and the good parts are there are two big chunks I missed, and they're on the second one.
Meaning you missed like they didn't land when you told the jokes?
No, I just skipped them.
Oh, wow.
Because the other thing was, that first, like a lot of that material was developed in like 5-minute open mics and then 5-minute like, check
Late
spots
night.
and late night and stuff. So like I'd never done it as an hour.
Whoa.
So I didn't know. I'd done it in my living room to nobody, but like I didn't know how, like I had no idea if it was 45 minutes of material or 3 hours. Because I'd never, so it turned out it would have been, had I done it all, it would have been like an hour and 25 minutes or something.
Wow.
And I ended up doing 62 minutes. The special's like 56 or something. But then I had a couple chunks that
I had
ready for the second one.
A very similar experience when I did my Caroline's Breakout Artist set. And because I did a couple like road gigs where I could do like 20, 25 minutes. Right. But again, I hadn't done it as an hour at all, and like the 2 or 3 weeks leading up to it, I couldn't get anything booked, like not even like bar shows around town. So I literally the last 2-3 weeks was just rehearsing it via 5-minute open mics, 5-minute late night, 5-minute whatever at a time, and like I was happy with how it went. And so it's very tough, but I'm happy that like guys like us who might not be able to find like those longer bits of stage time can still like grind it out when we need to, and like make the most of what we have.
Yeah, I mean, luckily this time I have a bunch of like
more,
I have some feature stuff coming up, so that's 20-25 minutes, and I can chunk it out and do big pieces of it. Like I did a feature weekend where I did 5 shows and I was doing 20-25 minutes, and when I came back and I cut up the videos, I was like, I did like 42 minutes of unique material over those 5 sets.
And do you feel like it's from Thursday to Sunday, it's like almost completely different?
Oh, it gets so much better. Like just being able to get up that often, by the end of it, you're cooking. But that Thursday night show,
it's like kind of jumping into the water.
You could still have a great show, but it's not like that. Once you get to Saturday, you're just.
I know, and that's the stuff that really like I like salivate over almost. It's like, oh man, like what if like a real like touring headliner took me on the road and I got to do 20-25 minutes 4 or 5 times.
Oh, it's great.
It would change my entire
it's the best
ability in like in life.
And I got a couple headliner spots lined up, so I will get to run it a few times.
It'll be more than just 5-minute chunks at a time.
And it's going to be 2 shows this time, so it's like I'm growing. And it's funny because like sometimes I do think like, what if I'd never taped the first one? How good? Like, would this second one be that much? If the second one was just the first one,
Oh,
like, if I could take the 2 hours and like whittle it down to like, what's the best 50 minutes? Would it be? And it would, yeah, of course it'd be better, but who cares?
but I think there's also something really interesting about, and I think this is what helps people really grow online, is like the audience gets invested early and they see a growth trajectory. So like all of the 130,000 people that have watched the special, if they come back again and watch the second one, it's like, oh, look at the jump from one to two.
And you get to a point where like part of me doing the first one was I need like starting comedy when I did and being my age and who I am, like no one's gonna go out of their way to like help me. So
we gotta get this guy. He worked at Goldman Sachs. We gotta give him a deal.
Yeah, so I was like, I'll just create my own credit. You can bring me to stage as like he's got a YouTube special, and I can make that happen. No one like anything you can do that where there's no gatekeeper involved means you can actually just do it if you want to,
right?
And if you're willing to.
The legwork of like watching the videos to edit and figure out the cameras, like just get all the detail in there.
And once you've done it, like I'm almost glad I did it the way I did because now I understand a lot of the little things that go into doing something. So like I could be that much more prepared for the second one, both in terms of like the material itself, but also all the little things about like the night of and making sure it goes as well as it can and stuff.
How speaking of like the little things, you have like I know you have very specific strategies for how you do stuff online. So like you have like a strategy for like rotating YouTube videos. What does that look like exactly?
Oh. Well, to me like the YouTube is the one that I'm most focused on but cuz YouTube is the one I have monetized, right? So you get a little bit, it's nice like over time to make back the money you spent producing the special is nice. But generally, I just post everything everywhere, and Instagram and YouTube kind of go. I usually try to post around the same time. Mm-hmm. I've stopped trying to game like the algorithm. Like, if you post at 2:32 when it's a full moon, you'll get more views. Like, I don't know. Maybe
and then it doesn't. It'll drive you nuts.
Maybe,
like, yeah.
But and then Instagram and they change their algorithms, and you just my view on that is don't post something that's complete garbage. But and I think shorter is better, but. For Instagram anyway, but just post something that you're proud to have out there, and don't worry too much about burning material because no one cares. And if you like it and you're proud of it, like you never know which one is gonna hit.
Yeah,
but just do it on a regular basis, and eventually good things will happen.
Yeah, burning material seems to be like a concern that's been left behind in like the early 2000s or the 90s. Like that's kind of it's.
Well, because you'd have to have millions of people watch a clip for it to truly be burned. That would be a great problem to have.
Right.
Like even my special. Sometimes when they'll bring me to stage. Like you may have seen his YouTube special, and I've opened a few times with "Make some noise if you've seen my YouTube special," and the room is dead silent. and then I just go like, "Oh, that's about right," and everyone kind of laughs because it breaks the tension. But that's the reality. Like the chance of someone like they're not coming to see me at the shows I'm doing. Like I'm not at that stage yet, and so. I could do just material from that first hour, and no one's gonna have heard it.
Yeah, and it's been online for
almost a year, so it's fine.
That's very cool.
I get when you get to a different level and they're your fans. They're gonna watch your special as soon as it comes out because they're big. Like there are comics where when they put out a special, it's one of like I get excited. I'm gonna watch it the day it comes out.
Oh yeah.
If I then saw them 2 months later and it was the same material, I would be disappointed. But I'm not anywhere near that kind of situation yet, right?
You know what I think of, and I don't know if this is like a 1-to-1 comparison, but I just think of Lil Wayne in the mid, the white way I say that, my collared suit. Lil Wayne, everybody, collared shirt. Lil Wayne, everybody. Lil Wayne in the mid 2000s, where he just like put out like 10 to like 15 free mixtapes.
Oh wow.
And just all of these free songs that people would just download online and share with each other. And like I remember him saying like people tell me like, what are you doing putting all these songs out? You got to save them for the album. He goes my brand or whatever, what I am, it's not an album. My what I want people to think of when they think of me is not what album I've done, it's just talent. Like this is the most talented rapper, best rapper out there, and then everything else will take care of itself afterwards. And it did, because he put out Carter 3 in 2008, sold 1 million copies its first week, all because of like that 3-year mixtape run
Right.
he did leading up to it. So I think like you have the right perspective where it's like, don't worry about burning material or putting stuff out. Like that's not a problem now. It's only gonna make things easier in the future.
Yeah, I do think though, like that's an interesting example because he monetized it later on and kind of had the confidence that would work. And that's the one thing about, say somewhere where I'm at, where if I put out something, if I'm putting out all this great free material, which I think a lot of the jokes I've put on Instagram and YouTube are good, but there's no direct compensation for that. So I'm aware, like I do think you want to be aware of what you're giving away for free, but at the same time, I do think that could be monetized down the road. I also think like putting up, like if you do a joke and you at New York Comedy Club and it hits and you post it, great. 2 months later, that same joke, you get a great tape of it at Gotham. Post that one too. Who cares?
Yeah, no one checking.
Cares. Yeah, if it's a great joke and it does well and it's a good clip, just no one cares. And then of course you're not burning it because you've already posted it.
Right.
It's just
burn it twice, burn it 3 times.
Yeah,
who cares?
Keep burning it.
Put out the free mixtapes.
It's just people are just scrolling through these things, watching a little clip. Oh, it's funny. They go to the next thing. Oh, maybe I'll follow that person. Like it's all just.
Yeah, it's like people's feeds. It's not even all stand up, let alone all your stand up. Like nobody gives a shit. It's like stand up, a video of a dog,
yeah,
a pimple popping video, then one of your clips, then like one of like Bill Burr's clips. It's just like it's all in the same mix, and it's like the preciousness is like something we've had to kind of unlearn.
And I guess look, I do think it also depends on what kind of comic you are. I don't want to walk back what I said, but everything I've said pertains to like me. Whereas I do write a lot of short jokes, and sometimes I'll get a video of a joke that worked really well in the room, but in my mind, it's not the best joke, but worked well in the room. I'll post it, and I'll probably never tell it again.
Yeah.
And so I haven't lost anything, and I still think it shows that I'm funny. Whereas someone else who is, maybe they're a storyteller and their jokes are much longer and it's a different style of comedy. Yeah, maybe they don't want to burn what they're talking about. Maybe they want you to, if you want to hear their latest stuff, maybe they want you to come buy a ticket. But,
yeah, the vertical video medium, I guess, wouldn't be for them. Maybe like, if they wanted to post a longer joke on YouTube or one story to kind of give you a sense. And like Liz Mealy in the last episode said, like she doesn't post anything new.
Yeah.
It's all, but she has this bank of material.
But she's a great example because if I had 4 hours of material, I probably wouldn't be posting new stuff either because I wouldn't have to. But I have to, and I'm okay with it. But I totally get what she said made a ton of sense. If you've got that much material, you just.
Yeah, like a lot of the stuff, because a lot of the things that people do when they try, I don't want to say rationalize because that's not the right word, but it's like, post your new jokes. Who cares? It's like you kind of have to because you don't have any other option.
Right.
But if you had the option to go repost old stuff, that I guess all things being equal would be better because that means when a fan of yours goes to see you, they definitely haven't heard the jokes instead of maybe they've heard 2 or 3.
Right. And then,
which is a small difference.
If you're someone that's much more experienced than me and you've done 7 late night sets, you have like 35 minutes of late night stuff. Like you can just keep
chop those up. Yeah.
Chop those up, continually post them, and you're not burning anything. They're high quality videos that are well produced with great sound.
Wearing a suit.
It's clear that you're on a thing that means something. Those are great. You don't need to take your latest set at New York Comedy Club and find 8 seconds.
Yeah.
That you can throw on TikTok. You don't need to. And that's, we all not only that, you probably have someone else doing it for you.
Yeah.
So that's what we all aspire to.
I think the goal is to be so good at social media you don't need it anymore, or at least you don't need to use it. I think that's like everyone's goal is to use social media till you don't have to.
Well, it all cycles around. Like, think of it wasn't that long ago that Instagram wasn't really a thing for video clips, and TikTok's even newer than that. And what's the next thing going to be?
Yeah,
I think the lesson of social media for comedians is when the new thing comes, don't sit on your hands and wait. Mm-hmm. Be one of the people that have benefited the most from Instagram Reels, from TikTok, are the people that really made a commitment to it early and built up a fan base. Because it's much harder now to have that video go viral in that way and get 100,000 people to follow you. I think when it was newer, I think that happened faster.
Yeah, because people are just looking for somebody to follow, but now the market is like essentially flooded.
Right.
So you have the special that you're recording in December. Like, Are you like right now just focused on just stand up, write the jokes, work on the special, post the clips? Like stand up is like everything right now, or are you leaning towards other things too?
Like other things within like
Like
comedy
you said you took a
adjacent
screenwriting class.
Yeah. No, like I'm always thinking of other things to do, but right now the focus is pretty much on that. But again, even that, you need to step away every once in a while, just so that you're looking at it with fresh eyes. So, I've got a few ideas that are like longer term, things that you just sort of chip away at, and even just that other weird writing process. Like that's something that I'm just, you chip away and slowly over the matter of months, it starts to get better and better.
And it doesn't have to be anything when you're doing. It's not like
no, there's no deadline.
Jokes tonight. I'm working on this to make it good.
There's no deadline for it, and I work like one of the the reason to do something. Like I work very well with a deadline. I don't know if it's the former banker in me, but when I put like a flag in when you plant a flag on a calendar and you're like, hey, make sure when that day comes around you don't embarrass yourself. I find that highly motivating, and I get very productive. Like I remember like leading up to last June when I taped the first one. That last 2 months, there's probably 10, 12 minutes in that special that were written within the last 6 weeks.
Wow!
Because all of a sudden, just stuff started like my brain just started firing out. Because I was looking at the set and I was thinking it'd be cool to have a joke about this right here, and then I would just come up with one. And I think it was the pressure of I only have so much time, and that really helped me.
Yeah, it's like it becomes concrete. I'm feeling the same way now because I'm producing a monthly show at QED where it's
nice.
It's being recorded and it's meant to like generate clips for it's all
That's great.
comedians that have less than 10,000 followers.
Oh, cool.
And it's to get clips for them to post and try and grow the following. So now that I have the show coming up in a month, I do find myself not just writing more, but writing better for some reason.
Yep.
It's like when I have a goal, my subconscious like turns on and puts out the good stuff.
No, absolutely.
Adam, thanks for dropping by and for making the trip to the Upper East Side. Where were you coming from, by the way?
I was coming from Williamsburg.
Oh, okay, so that's not too bad of a trip.
No.
Where can people find you? What do you want to plug? We'll put all the links in the comment description section.
So it's at Adam.Muller, spelled Muller, on Instagram and TikTok. I think it's Adam_Muller on whatever Twitter's called now, and X.
We'll put the links in the description. So just don't worry about it. Just click on it. You're
and
good
follow,
to go.
I mean, subscribe to my YouTube. That'd be the most meaningful thing to me. Watch my first hour. You don't just turn it on and then go make souvlaki or something.
Yeah, do you want to
just let
make
it roll.
People think you're working when you're working remotely. Just put Adam's special on, so your Slack stays active, and you can go do whatever the hell you want.
Give it a look, and if you're in New York, I'll start promoting the new one like after Labor Day. No one's gonna buy tickets in August or something in December. But
that's cold weather. I can't even imagine that.
December, December 7th. You got to do it on Pearl Harbor Day.
December 7th at West Side Comedy Club.
Yes.
Again, all the links will be in there. Thanks so much for coming by, and smash that like button. You guys know what to do. Subscribe, whatever the thing is that I have to say, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me.
Of course, anytime.